Today I'm going to show you what's inside of this A760 Lexus 6-speed automatic transmission and how it works. Now this transmission has been sitting around for 15 years, so I'm expecting to be brand spanking new inside, so let's tear it down to see how it works. Now this transmission is situated longitudinally for rear wheel drive. However, I did remove the transfer case on here if you want to check my previous video, and I detailed how the all-wheel drive system works. So I'm going to start with removing the bell housing. First there's a bunch of 12s. These are not 12s, are they? They're 14. Remove the bell housing. It's funny how these transmissions look so big and long and scary, but you lop off the bell housing and transfer case and they're not that much bigger than a transaxle. I'm going to remove the bolts for the oil pump. This is the oil pump, and on the front here, this gear is actually the stator, plugs into the torque converter. There's an O-ring here. Oh, looks like we got one entire unit here, and that looks like the sun gear for the second. It's a plastic. What's that doing there, Toyota? Got another clutch. It looks in decent shape. This transmission came out of a wrecked car when it was only 3 years old. The transmission fluid in here is brown. It's not burnt, doesn't smell. Finally, stupid snapper. I'm going to switch sides here to the bottom of the transmission. Now at the side here we do have a park neutral switch, and that works with the shifter on the other side. There is a transmission fluid warmer, and over here is the input shaft speed sensor. But next I'm going to work on the transmission pan. Okay, let's pull this pan off and see what surprises lie within. But one thing I'll tell you right off the bat, transmission fluid is supposed to be red, at least the Toyota one. This has definitely been swapped out for something else, or maybe over time it just lost its dye color. You can see it's more of a yellow color all over the table here as well. Now the magnets on this, they do have a little bit of sludge on them, so it's a little hard to tell if this is a lower mileage engine. It's supposed to be. Now here's the fluid check straw. So essentially we've got our drain one over here. This only drains like 2.5 quarts, by the way. The rest of it is sitting inside of the transmission, clutches, assembly, valve body, and most of it in the torque converter. Once you refill your fluid, you bring it up to operating temperature, and then you remove this fluid check bolt underneath here, and the fluid is now going to decrease down to this level, which is the ideal level that you want the transmission fluid to be at. Do you think they could have just added a dipstick just like the previous generation GS, but no. Let's look at the fluid screen next. I don't see any particles or anything in there. This is just one little screen that starts from this side and goes over to this side. At least it's accessible from the bottom of the transmission inside of the vehicle, unlike a lot of other vehicles nowadays. Let's work on removing the valve body. Now this is the manual detents over here, and the manual valve that moves back and forth. Let's remove this. Let's take off a bunch of bolts here. Pull out this valve body. I don't really want to damage this wiring harness, so I'm just going to use this wire removal tool here to carefully disconnect it. And here we have the valve body. Now we'll look at this valve body later in the video, but essentially it's got a bunch of solenoids on it. Now these little springy things here are like accumulators. You see if I spray, oh, she squirted. Oh look, this one's squirting too. And basically hold transmission fluid for the next shift. This still uses a shift rod instead of a cable, and you can see as I move it back and forth here, this is where the parking pole mechanism is located. So let's take that off. Now there is a check ball over here. This will function like a one-way valve on the valve body. Yeah, I could take this piston out. You can see it's a giant piston, and it's a holding chamber with a giant spring. This looks just like a valve spring on an engine. Okay, what is important is that I take out these little guys over here. My daughter's old dress comes in real great for cleaning up my gloves and some of this work area here so I can see what I'm doing better. Yeah, so you have to remove these little guys here, otherwise your pistons don't want to come out. So I was wiggling and I'm able to get this piston to move, which is the one I last took the snap ring out of. It was crucial to get that little plunger out from here because that's where it would line up. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to use a puller for this. I don't care about this transmission, I just want to learn how it works. I have one of these in my car, so it's pretty cool to see. So finally I was able to pull this guy out. I hate when these things are splined in so tight. You can see my hammer marks on there. This is basically the piston. It's going to receive fluid from over here. Also inside of here we have a one-way clutch. See, there's these little rollers inside of here. And that is splined to the inside of this piston. Yeah. Looks like we got a planet carrier, and this is a compound planet carrier because there's two pairs of planets. And that sits on the one-way clutch. Anything else interesting? Oh yeah. Looks like we got the ring gear for that planetary gear set. Anything else interesting? Let's see. Oh, there's a bunch of friction discs. These friction discs, they look in okay shape. Looks up, there's yet one other snap ring. I don't like this transmission. These snap rings are really difficult to get to. And there's a piston return spring. A piston. So this piston has the hole that lines up to the bottom where the valve body was. There's yet another snap ring. These snap rings are not going to come out on camera, so. There's another piston. I don't like how they use this press fit tight this planet carrier and the sun gear associated with. Alright, the next one's got a big snap ring in here. I was able to get a hook on there and I'm trying to get it out. I believe you're supposed to press on that piston and then get it out because there's some pressure on here. But again, it's going to take a while to do this off camera. Quite some pulling and twisting, as you can see. And I got that thick snap ring out. The key with this piston is to walk it out slowly on either side, here and here. But if it gets twisted like I am, it's going to get stuck, so I got to start again. Well, I'm still trying to hit that piston out, but in the process, I was able to get this inner raceway out. Here's the one-way clutch. I've been fiddling with trying to get this piston out for more than an hour now. I even got my crowbar stuck. So, I might have to give up on that and try to just get my crowbar back. Now on the back of the transmission there's this parking pole and that's activated by the selector switch. So if I remove that, you can see I could get this little spring out of here and remove the pin, and that takes out the parking pole. That little tooth there is going to lock into a little gear over here, and that gear's also got the output shaft speed sensor on it. So not only does it function to hold the vehicle still when the vehicle's in park, but it also tells the speed. Give me my crowbar back. Success! I was finally able to get this crowbar out of here, and I'm not going to be touching this ever again. That wasted so much of my time. Essentially, to summarize, we do have one more piston inside of here, a clutch pack, and another planetary gear set. Now from the shaft on this side here, I'm able to control the sun gear as well as the planet carrier. And on the outside here, we've got the ring gear, which is ultimately the output shaft going to the transfer case. We've also got hookups on the outside of the casing here for where the valve body is going to control those pistons, and on the front side here where it's going to come in from the pump. So let's go take a look at the components next. So kind of working backwards from the output shaft, we have this next planetary gear set over here. It's got its sun and planet gears. You'll see its ring gear is actually shared with the following planetary gear set, or preceding planetary gear set over here. It's got a set of clutches on it that look a bit dark, especially for a lower mileage engine. Let's continue taking this apart here. So you can see we've got, this is a compound planetary gear set, and that ring gear would plug into here just like that. Now on the back of that third planetary gear set, we got a one-way clutch. Seems like Toyota likes to use one-way clutches. You can see it carries torque in one direction and it freewheels in the other direction. Now the way a one-way clutch is, this whole thing will be encased in a raceway, and if I go in the counterclockwise direction, I can freewheel normally. However, if you take a look at these little rollers over here, when I turn it in the clockwise direction, they tend to turn in that clockwise direction, and they'll lock up because they all have a force that's squishing down on this inner piece here, and they'll turn all together. A little difficult to demonstrate because I don't have the outer raceway squishing everything. You can see these little rollers sort of sit on their own spring that bounces up and down. Next up we have this piston. Now if you remember, this piston is going to simply fill up with fluid and push out up against the next set of clutches and bands, and it's going to get its fluid pressure from the valve body. And in order to take this thing apart, you need to compress the spring and then take off the C-clip, but I'm not going to do that because I ain't got a compressor. Now the next set of clutches are a little bit worn but not perfect. Here we've got the sun gear, which was mounted to that planetary gear set, and yet another one-way clutch. See, I can carry torque in this direction, but it freewheels in this direction. Wonder if I can roll that off there. And once again, you can see the little rollers on the inside there to do the lifting. Not sure why Toyota Lexus is using plastic inside of a transmission. This here is the sun gear, and it looks like it's connected to another clutch set inside of here, so let's open that up. Now there's another snap ring here. I wonder if this is going to come out easily or no. Got it free here, and then let's lift this sun gear off. And you can see the sun gear's got a bunch of clutches on it, and you'll see this clutch here is also a little bit worn. Not too bad though, but for a low mileage transmission, I'm not believing it. Just a refresher on how clutches work. You can see we've got the friction discs, and these are going to be splined to that sun gear, and we've got the steel bands on the outside here, and that's going to be splined to this next piece over here. Now in order to transfer torque from that sun gear over to this piece here, you need to lock up this clutch, and that's done by providing fluid pressure to the piston that's inside of here. Now normally this is going to be floating around and they can turn relative to each other. However, once you apply the hydraulic force, they're going to get squished together and forced to rotate at the same speed. All right, let's see what's next here. I'll pull this off. This just looks like another cage. Got another cage. Does this have a set of clutches in it? Let's pull off that snap ring. Pull this apart here. And that's another set of a one-way clutch. That's quite complicated. Can pull this apart here. Cool. Nice precision pieces though. If you think about the manufacturing behind it. Looks like they've used some brass instead of aluminum to optimize weight and cost savings. Next we've got a clutch inside of the clutch, so let's pull this off. Now if you remember, this is the input from the torque converter in the engine. There's actually two clutches I see, one inside the other. Another snap ring. This set of clutches. Again, they're not brand new, but they are fairly well used. There's a piston on the inside here for that. Ah, there's another snap ring in here, great. Cool, so you can see there's two stages of clutches. And this clutch is also kind of worn, not perfect at all. And now this would be the piston, and because this piston actually rotates with the input shaft, you have to feed it oil through this hole over here inside of the shaft. You can see there's two oil seals over here, and to lock up the torque converter there's also this hole over here which is going to feed oil through the shaft into the torque converter's clutch. Alright, moving on to the last clutch set here. These things are so precisionally machined, it's so tight. Is there a snap ring? Yeah, there's a snap ring in here. There's a snap ring holding another set of clutches. Another snap ring? So there's two snap rings holding this thing together. Goodness, I can never get it on camera. Yeah, these clutches are a bit dark. Maybe that's how they come. And finally, inside of this big cage, we have another piston. And because this is a rotating piston, you once again have to send the oil through the shaft over here. And you'll see there's these different oil holes over here to fill up that piston to activate those clutches. So the real question is, how does this transmission shift gears? Well, there's 3 planetary gear sets, and you have to have 6 forward gears and 1 reverse gear to be usable. Now, by looking at the planetary gear sets here, you can see we have a planet carrier. Now, this happens to be a compound style where you've got a smaller inner gear and a larger outer gear, so you can fit a larger ring gear on there. We've got the ring gear, of course, and then in between here, we have the sun gear. Now, in a planetary gear set, you'll hold one of these stationary by using those clutches. Once you activate them, let's say the sun gear is held stationary, I'm going to use the planet carrier as my input, and you'll see the ring gear, which is this top piece here, is going to be the output. It's spinning at a slightly faster speed, so that's great for something like overdrive. Conversely, I can take this whole thing and turn it upside down, and then I can use my sun gear as my input while the ring gear is stationary, and you'll see the output, which is the planet carrier, is now moving in the reverse direction, which is great for a reverse gear. Now I can also apply both clutches and lock them up so they can all move as a 1-to-1 gear ratio. Now compounding all of these planetary gear sets are going to give you your 6 forward speeds, but it could also give you ratios like 3 reverse gears, which you don't really need. So next up we're going to take a look at the valve body. Now bear with me, I just broke my brother's toothbrush, so I have a shorter stick than industry average. So you'll see we've got the inlet for the filter plugging into here, and that comes directly from the transmission pump. That's going to generate fluid pressure, and we've got these little solenoids that are all plugged into here, and that's what's going to redirect the pressure to change those pistons that we saw earlier. So let's start taking some of these off. There's a little check ball that's preventing them from coming out. Alright, so check this out. You take a magnet, you stick it onto the pin, and you pull out that pin, and then the solenoid can be popped out. It's not actually held in by a physical screw. Pull out that pin, and then the solenoid comes out. I feel like this is only something the Germans would have come up with. And these solenoids look more traditional. These are held in the normal way with an actual flange. Now these oil control valves have a little spool valve in them that move back and forth according to the solenoid. You'll see even this one here has a little filter on the tip. Sometimes when your transmission gets all gunked up, it's worth going in and cleaning them out. You can see this one's also got a little screen on it. I like that all the solenoids are easily accessible from the bottom. This is actually the top, so that means you don't have to drop the valve body in order to change some solenoids out. I'll take out this bottom piece here. Got a little plate. Oh, there's a lot of little check balls in here. Yeah, this looks like a plastic check ball. Still don't believe that WS fluid is being used in here. This does not have a hint of red at all. Okay, we'll pull off the second layer here. Oh, there's so many little check balls in here. Usually most valve bodies have like 3 or 4. I flip this over and there's actually another small piece over here. There is little spool valves inside of here, and they're spring controlled. And those solenoids are going to be pushing against those spring valves in order to regulate the pressure before it goes to the accumulators. And the accumulators were those tanks that we saw on the transmission body. That's going to hold the pressure before it goes to the piston, so you get that nice smooth shift and not just a very abrupt one. Here you can see there's a little inline filter, nice and clean, and inside of here the bottom of that temperature sensor for the transmission fluid. Very nicely machined piece, but also very costly to replace if one of these spool valves go bad or they wear out and just start leaking. Now if you made it this far in the video, my hands are super oily and my tools are too. My daughter's dress comes in really handy for soaking things up. Next, let's take a look inside of this transmission pump. this off. Here you can see this is the pump housing, and the actual pump is these two gears here. Taking a look at how this oil pump works here, we've got the crankshaft which is going to rotate this gear style oil pump. Transmission fluid is going to enter here from the oil filter at the bottom of the transmission pad, squeeze fluid through here, and then send it into the valve body pressurized so it can go to lock up those clutches. On the aluminum side here, you can see some very slight scoring where those metal gears are going to ride up again. I'm surprised there's no bushing to protect this aluminum. I did get the torque converter with this guy. Boy, is it heavy. I mean, these engines are making north of 300 horsepower, so rightfully so. Now those two notches on the gear are going to spin with the torque converter, and they're going to slip on just like that. And you can see how that's going to pump fluid. Next, we've got the stator, which is going to plug into the torque converter. If you want to learn more about how torque converters work, check my other video linked above, but that's the stationary part of the torque converter. And then finally we got the input shaft over here, which is on the back side of the clutch inside of the torque converter, and that's going to be doing the actual turning of the transmission. And that's a look at the Lexus Toyota A760 automatic transmission and how it works. Now, it was interesting to see what's inside of this transmission because I have the Lexus GS350 myself. However, I do question certain things like pressing in pistons and really thick snap rings that make this job a little bit more difficult. They're also using a lot more one-way bearings, which I feel is a little bit more complicated than a typical longitudinally mounted 5 or 7-speed transmission. And like any Toyota, they've proven to be very reliable, with the exception of one thing, and that is the transmission fluid. You see, this is the fill plug here, and it says WS for World Standard Toyota Automatic Transmission Fluid. However, they do say that it's lifetime fluid, and you don't have to change it. But please, change your transmission fluid. Please don't make it wear out. This is no different than any other automatic transmission out there. It still has the same clutches, fluids, valve body, everything functions physically the same. They just want you to not change it because they don't want you to mess things up. Or maybe they just say it's for the lifetime of the transmission and not the vehicle itself. So it is a pain to change the transmission fluid. I do have another video on how to do it. You need a pump to access this, and it's quite close to the exhaust, so be careful. And you have to drain the excess transmission fluid at a certain transmission temperature, which you need some special tools to figure out how to do. That transmission service has been my biggest nerve since I bought my GS350 almost 9 years ago, but so far everything's been going great. Make sure you support me on Patreon and subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.